Foghlaim and medium wave.
This is BBC Radio Ulster.
Thank you, Kim. A very good morning to you. It's 8:30 this week for the first
I'm William
time
Crawley, BBC journalist and broadcaster. I talk for a living, so it's little wonder I'm interested in language. But recently, I've become fascinated by Irish. In Northern Ireland, it's a language that can inspire, provoke, offend and motivate, all in one turn of phrase. I was born and raised a Protestant in North Belfast, so learning Irish is something I didn't think I would ever do. But times are changing, and I've decided I want to give it a go. In this programme, I'm not just going to learn the language, I'm going to learn about the language. I'll meet with those who feel that the politics surrounding Irish is a thing of the past and no longer a barrier to engagement.
This is my language and nobody from either community is going to tell me anything different. This belongs to me.
Agus anhfuil tú ag fearlam Gaeilge fada.
I'll spend a week immersed in Irish classes in the Gaeltacht in County Donegal.
It is doing my head in. I can't take any more Irish.
In Dublin, I'll explore how the south of Ireland has a love-hate relationship with the language.
Well, I think it's an integral part of being Irish. It's one of the few unique things we have.
We need to have languages that we can communicate with the rest of Europe, with the rest of the world. We need to be speaking Chinese now.
And at the end of it all, I'm going to try to co-present BBC Radio Ulster's Irish language programme, Blas.
It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous. You shouldn't even attempt this. This is not the way to learn a language.
But have I set myself a challenge too far?
Right, William, here comes. How you feeling?
I felt better. I really have.
It's July 2012. Time for my first proper lesson.
Oh, get in. Don't even start.
Oh.
This
is what's in front of you?
Yes. What's this?
Are you ready to give this a go?
Well, let's get coffee.
Not a bad idea.
Dahi Murray is a good friend of mine who happens to be fluent in Irish, so he'll be my personal tutor.
What is coffee in Irish?
Cafe.
That I can do.
Cafe buan. So, you ready to start this?
I am. Sort of.
Do you realise what's in front of you?
Well, it looks like a small library for a start.
That's a very small section of it. But these are some of the most important books that you're going to use.
Is it going to be very bookish, this experience?
No, not at all. Not at all. But you're going to need some good reference materials to go back and forward to when you're stuck, when you're working on your own. We're going to really work on developing your ability to speak Irish, to develop your confidence in Irish, to be able to talk and to be able to meet people and introduce yourself and interact and communicate and do all of those sort of things.
Growing up as I did in North Belfast, you know, I grew up in English and in a Protestant working class culture. Irish wasn't part of our world. The only Irish word I knew was Chuaigh Arla. The only phrase I knew was Chuaigh Arla. And so it was a kind of politicisation of the language. And I see that politicisation retreating. There's definitely a more openness from a lot of people to say, you know, this is everybody's language. This is a language that has unearthed itself from this island. If you're here, why not explore it and enjoy it? It doesn't have to be a threatening experience. It's almost like a great uncle that nobody talks about, you know, and, you know, why not bring him into the room and actually have a conversation and see what this sounds like? So what do we got here?
Well, I've brought you some presents. I'm going to leave you some gifts. These, I want you to keep these on your desk. Don't put them on a shelf.
So bog means soft or tender.
It's an adjective, bug. I've brought you a novel as well, little teenage novel, Sorachas a Gallery, Sarah in the Gallery. Well, Fisha sin, ain't on my fad, agus Hanach Mojé, Hogsha and stuff, agus Fish ábalta, Golamunina and stuff gasta galore. A Bhéal Feirste, and which ábalta shaw a h-oscailte gol, agus Nílas a come and digging check a day rear, cake on boards at hand, dúshlán at river, agus a mesha ábalta torch fui, agus and tam a horchda, Ura a laid sala, horchda shaw, upper war at rowing, agus Bhéal Feirste. More difficult one now. So 21 is
Fia a hen. bheadh,
And so on.
bheadh trí. So I'm really ready for it. The books are not intimidating because I've got myself in the right headspace here. Not worried about what I don't know. A lot of this I will never understand. Not worried about it. All I want to do is intuitively walk into this language and be able to communicate. Bring it on, I'm ready for it. I'm going to do this.
But not only am I trying to learn the language, I've set myself a further challenge. In just 10 months' time, will I be able to co-present a radio show in Irish?
Medium wave. This is BBC Radio Ulster.
Siad a bheith agus de fáilteóid ag Blas and her BBC Radio Olu, Lumsa Mhisean Oirthear. You're very welcome to tonight's edition of Blas, and I hope you're well on this miserable Tuesday.
Blas is tweeting that I'm on him. No time at all. Calling me the journalist William Crawley on BBC Blas tonight at 7:03. Ask Gaeilge in Irish. Go neary leis. No idea what that means.
Also, apologies if you hear some...
Blas is BBC Radio Ulster's daily Irish language programme. Broadcast every weeknight, the 30-minute show covers everything from news and current affairs to sport and the arts. Tonight's show is being presented by Mhisean Oirthear, and I'm going to join her live on air to announce my challenge.
This is the promissory note. Because when you're doing something like this, you know, if you commit yourself, make yourself accountable to people, you're more likely to do it, no matter what it is. Weight loss, learning a new language, anything. And I'm just going to announce it to the entire country. That's the only difference.
Tagan daoine ó ahan ceann den dón uair go fada le condaí an chláir le bheith leithir ag an éile for addition to cheáil seo agus le fhoghlaim ó Skype na deagascóirí.
The only thing I understood there was agus.
Mata de géir dar a deagbal am an ort, seáil text agam ar a hartaín a seart hían, ná chur rifas take blas at bbc.co.uk, or you can tweet me twitter.com/BBC Blas.
Hello.
Hello,
How are
William
you?
Crawley.
Oh.
Will to go my? Will to go my? Are you getting a wee bit nervous now?
Is that what that means? Are you stressing out?
No,
way to relax me.
You can see here your tweets are coming up.
Are my tweets coming up on your screen?
Yes, I feel like about to go into GCSE conversation
Yes.
myself.
That makes you the examiner. Be nice.
I don't
Be
feel
nice
like
to
being
me.
a really cross.
Be nice to
examiner.
me.
Of course I will be. So long as you can just speak fluently in Irish to me,
I should say, well, Liam or well, William, could you more tattoo an oct?
Jidich.
Cheers, Smurdy.
Well, you know, you're onto a question straight away. What is my name in Irish? And so we looked into this, and we're going to go for Liam McGrathally.
Liam McGrathally.
Does that sound right?
Yes, that sounds perfect to me. So anyone who follows you on Twitter will know that you're learning Irish at the moment. They may not, however, know about the challenge that you've set yourself. So reveal all to our listeners.
The challenge at the end of all of this is I'm going to switch chairs with you and present this programme sometime next year.
Well,
Hopefully you're going to be here. Don't abandon me, please, Moya.
No, not
Let's
at all.
co-present it.
Yes,
But by the end of this challenge, I want to get to the point where I can read the scripts, do the interviews, converse in Irish in a way that anybody who's listening in for the first time will think, oh, he's the regular presenter. No chance.
Listen, William, I want you to help me end the programme tonight. So you're going to say, Wumsa, William Crawley, slán agus ihe waigah. Where you go?
Wumsa, Liam McGrathally, slán agus uachta
Ihe
waigah.
Waigah. Agus Wumsa fásta slán agus ihe waigah tuair the 10 gají in chartan sugin slán.
And now on Radio Ulster.
We're off air, William. You've just announced to the world that you're going to do it. What do you think? How are you feeling
I've got
now?
to go from struggling through that to what was your script like? There's not a chance. Not a chance. That was quite intimidating because it's one thing when you're speaking to somebody in one little phrase and then they speak back to you in one little phrase, but when they rattle it off like that really speedily, I mean, they could well be speaking Chinese, you haven't a clue what they're saying.
Níor ma cinse tá sé ionta dóthasa agus tá sé réit na bhí ceart agus tá sé géirí an nGaeilge a ólam agus sílim go méise ábalta Gaeilge a ólam méise ábalta go leor ólam le bhéin an clár a thó leithriú lomsan seo. I
feel like I've got to the top of a cliff and I'm about to abseil, and I've been really brave, and this is not going to be difficult. And then I get to the edge of the cliff, look down, and it's about 1,000 feet below me.
I'm told that almost anyone who's learned Irish has spent time taking summer classes in a gairmiúil, a community that uses Irish as their first language. It's an experience of total immersion and one of the best ways to learn. So I've come to the gairmiúil of Glencolmcille in southwest Donegal. But not only am I studying Irish, I'll be living it. For the next week, I'll be staying here at this house close by the school.
Gaeilge.
Gaeilge Abanity.
James Tatu. Shakachlin.
Is Mhisean Liam.
The Fatcher Road Liam.
Got my hugget. That wasn't too bad.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just...
I quickly find out there's only one language spoken here.
Is that enough Irish? Can I go on English? Oh no. It's Irish now, all right. Oh, hi, thank you very much.
Ever Chuaigh, Sha. Nash.
Oh, terrific, thank you very much.
Carculordach.
Yeah.
Okay, by breakfast there in 9 o'clock or margin. Agus mat a rudder be yort. Be me hisa Christian. Agus...
I got the breakfast bit.
Dúch mission, be breakfast there in 9 o'clock.
Champagne breakfast? No.
Because I need to go rod the breakfast there.
Is there anything I would like for breakfast?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Can you do poached eggs? What's poached eggs in Irish?
Of Oscailte.
Oscailte.
Of Oscailte.
Oscailte.
Sha.
Sha is...
Of Oscailte. Agus bagun a spinny.
Bacon and spinach?
No, a spinny sausage.
Sausage. All right. Okay. Yes, sausage, bacon and poached eggs would be fantastic. How do I say fantastic?
Shangamai.
Shangamai. Shangamai.
Be Shangamai. Okay.
Yeah. Got to mean in my yogurt.
Well, Martha, rather be yurt, be me he's a Christian.
Would you want it in your bedroom or in the kitchen? No.
Martha, rather be yurt if you need anything.
You're there.
I'll be downstairs.
You're a great vanity and a lovely view as well.
Yeah, terrific, my.
Terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, Gallanta?
Taché Gallanta.
Taché Gallanta. This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it really is, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever get bored with complete beginners?
Yeah.
Well, prepare to be bored.
I shouldn't be bored with this.
Over the next week, I'll be taking formal classes every morning and activities every afternoon and evening, all in Irish.
Look at Calín dahul, Calín dahul, Calín dahul. Tú héalagus an farshin tan táirih. You're lucky.
Yes.
Tan táirih. As we've only 2 men, you're blessed amongst women. Bí Mhisean seo sa saoilmh múniú daoine fásta cosí libhse. Agus rugu agus tógu mé sa cheantar seo. Tú héan, cé tosa? Tú héan, cé tosa?
Is Mhisean Liam? Feirste.
Agus seo do Gaeilge lig. Seo do Gaeilge. Well,
no, we
didn't
come in the same minibus.
No, thank goodness. Agus, and well, tú ag fiálam Gaeilge le fada. Have you been learning Irish le fada long time?
No.
It's been like being dropped into a big ocean. The language just comes at you thick and fast, and it's just overwhelming. So I feel like I've just been dropped into it and or parachuted into it, and we'll see how it goes. But it's worrying.
I guess that. I just turned the tea into an Irish sound and it worked.
I started enjoying it today because things slowed down a bit. The afternoons are fun because you go to other kind of cultural classes. You're learning Irish in between learning something else like singing or dancing. Some people are going hill walking, others are learning the boron drum. And I'm also doing a lot of Twitter with people and putting out a bit of Irish. And I've now got about 200 people who are fluent Irish speakers, as far as I can tell, on Twitter following me.
And blue is storm.
Feeling still overwhelmed, but I'm starting to see where it's going to. And it's always a thrill when you can finally get to 2 or 3 phrase exchanges with somebody in the pub or in the cafe or in the street. Someone will say good morning to you, say good morning back. They'll say something about the weather, and you recognise that they're talking about the weather. When you say that it's a decent day, that's it's like getting a Nobel Prize. I've found that I've started taking to hiding from Irish speakers all around me, going to a coffee shop and sliding into a corner somewhere, and within seconds some well-intentioned lovely person just walks up and starts speaking in Irish, sits down and starts interviewing me about the Irish language, and it is doing my head in. I can't take any more Irish. I've been plunged into verbs and adverbs and verbal nouns and I don't know what. I just want to get away with my head intact and stop feeling so confused the whole time. I'm kind of losing it.
So at the end of a tiring but enjoyable week, what does my report card look like?
Jais sé an tús, het sin na chalú leile, bhí sé gcónaí garan go thuras, ach ar an omlan bhí sé anhaith ar fad, agus tháinig an Gaeilge go mbeadh chuige, bhí sé géisteach agus bhí sé ábalta na rudaí a rá geart, agus bhí líomh ach waithe an jeú, agus sílim sa héan go neanhí sé go hanhaith amach anseo, nuair a bhí sé ddíú seathar níos mó. But le líam sílim go bhfuil teachreacht aige ó híomh an technoliacht. Tá sé gcónaí gúsa de fón páca, agus bhí sé gcónaí deanú tweeting agus rudí mar sin, agus é sa rang, agus bhí na daoine eile gurcar, agus bheadh sé i gin sin dúin go déann teachreacht a bhí aige, agus i geirí freigrach ar chuig an duine sin.
This has been a week I'll never forget. I think my grasp of the language has progressed a bit, but ultimately this has been a reality check about the size of the task I've set myself.
This is a 5, 7, 8 year challenge to learn and become fluent in a language. So, yeah, I've had moments where I've regretted it. Liam. I mean, how am I supposed to conduct an interview in the studio where I'm asking questions that are about intellectual issues or the arts or politics or journalism? I'm going to be sunk.
The Donegal Gaeltacht and its traditions are a world away from the developing Gaeltacht area here in West Belfast. This recently established Gaeltacht quarter aims to increase the amount of Irish spoken in everyday life, in shops, in restaurants, in cafes and schools. Recent census figures show that almost 185,000 people in Northern Ireland claim to have some ability in Irish, although there's no way of knowing exactly how much Irish is spoken on a daily basis. But the Gaeltacht quarter hopes to play its part in increasing those levels. One of the key driving forces is Gaeilge Feirste, the only post-primary Irish language school in Northern Ireland. The Sinn Féin MLA Carol McKillen is here today, launching an arts and culture exchange programme between West and East Belfast.
And art and everything to do with art and creativity is part of the narrative of this city.
As the Culture Minister, she's responsible for the executive strategy around the Irish language, notably the leith campaign, an initiative aimed at getting 5,000 people from all backgrounds across Northern Ireland fluent by 2015. Indeed, that campaign is partly why I began to learn. She's been credited with trying to break down some of the stereotypes around the use of Irish. But doesn't her party bear some responsibility for the politicisation of the language?
When you look at ordinary Unionist, Loyalist Protestants in the 70s, 80s and beyond, they might be watching television, they might see a Sinn Féin politician speaking Irish, and they're not driven by bitterness around this, but they look at this and they think that's an alien tongue because it's being used by them, and it adds to the them and us dynamic that's here. And there's some truth in that, isn't there? There is a them and us socialisation that comes from who is using the Irish language.
Yeah, and I suppose it's about maybe people feeling that it's used to exclude. You know, I mean, I remember talking to someone and they said, I heard the start of a debate and I just turned it over because Jerry Adams was speaking in Irish. It's bad enough having to listen to him in English. And I remember asking him why, and he just says, I just feel that you're using the language because it's yours. I went, but why can't it be ours?
But if he already seemed alien to those people, the Irish language made him seem even more alien.
I know, but when you have people like yourself, see, I kind of knew, if I had seen you starting an interview, knowing your background and your history in Irish, his reaction would have been completely different.
Do you think, ironically, that Sinn Féin could best help the Irish language by walking away from it for a while and allowing someone else to drive this?
And then you become the problem. And I think that's where the dichotomy around not knowing why the language has been an issue, it's Sinn Féin's fault. Is it Sinn Féin's fault that we're pushing marriage equality? Is it Sinn Féin's fault that we're pushing rights for people who have no jobs? Is it Sinn Féin's fault that we're fighting social justice issues? No, it's not. But this is an issue that we all should be fighting for, and that's my argument. So why should you walk away from any equality issue? It just isn't in my DNA. But what I don't want people to think or sense or perceive or even believe is that I'm using the language as a way of excluding them. I want the language to be a liberating experience for them as it has been for me.
Nowhere is the depoliticisation of the Irish language more evident than here in East Belfast. Among the Union flags and Loyalist murals, weekly Irish classes are growing in popularity and take place here at the East Belfast Mission.
Böla, Mala, Ta and Böla, Sawala.
I think there is an interest within Protestants. I think that a lot of Protestants feel it's something that's been denied to them. They've never had the opportunity to engage with the Irish language, but the interest has always been there. Here in East Belfast Mission, you know, we haven't waved a magic wand. All we've done is make it available for people.
I've part culture with the Irish language because I was in the British Army, in the Royal Irish Rangers, who would have been brought up, we would have had the Irish culture. Linda just mentioned it, and I thought, yeah, well, that's a perfect opportunity because I think, you think about it, and then you sort of if it's not available, you're less inclined to, if it's not too close to you, you're not inclined to, to push yourself to go for it or go and do it. But with it being so close, there was no excuses.
I've been surprised at the number of Protestants who have maintained their interest in it, even in spite of all these troubles, in spite of it being perceived as the language of the enemy. What shocked me was the revelation of the 1911 census. When I found that my family, who lived in Frome Street within the shadow of the shipyards, were all bilingual. This is before my father was born. His older brothers and sisters and my grandparents spoke Irish. It shocked me. This is a way where ordinary people can get together on the basis of hopefully an apolitical language and get together.
Amala or an alarm, ta papernuiachta or an tabla. I'm quite proud of the fact that there's so many in the class, and they're so eager and everybody turns up every week, and if somebody misses one, they're texting Linda or emailing and just tell Matthew, I'm sorry, I can't make a class of this, that, or that on, and they come up to you the next week. Cashed, and dinner.
I meet people who get angry at the very use of the Irish language. People from a Protestant or Unionist background sometimes get angry. Don't introduce this into a conversation. Don't put this on television. Don't put it in the radio. Don't put it in a speech. Why are they so angry?
I think some people feel very threatened by the Irish language. They feel threatened by that whole idea of Irish identity, and for me that's quite sad because, like Brian, I feel I'm British, but I'm Irish. I feel that as a Protestant from Northern Ireland, we are the other Irish. We are the ignored, forgotten Irish that have been overlooked, you know, because when people think of an Irish identity, they think of Catholic, they think of nationalist, they think of Republican. And that's not who I am, that's not my identity. So I think that is why people from my community have rejected that idea of an Irish identity and what goes along with that, Irish dance and Irish language. So for them, this is something that is alien to them. Yet for me, I see now that actually, no, that identity is mine as well.
The Irish language has had a strong relationship with Protestants stretching back centuries. So in some ways, what's happening here in East Belfast is not new. It's just being rediscovered. The dedication shown by Linda and her colleagues to learning the language is inspiring. And to be honest, I could do with a little bit of that rubbing off on me. It's now December 2012, 5 months since I announced my challenge live on radio, and I found this much harder than I thought I would. In my defence, I've just been so busy with work that I haven't had the time to study as much as I need to. But I have a feeling my munchor, my teacher, Dahi, isn't going to be very understanding.
Yeah. Where are we?
Well, it's I wouldn't say it's a crisis.
Okay.
But I'm
Sounds
not being
good.
invited to lecture in Irish at Queen's just yet. It's been tough because you need to immerse yourself in any language, and that's particularly the case in Irish. And it's very difficult to immerse yourself because the Gaeltacht is here and it's a bit there. You go to classes, and I've been to a couple of classes, not many. And I've tried a bit with some of the books, but there's no replacement really for immersion, I think, to fully get it. And when you're doing so many other things, I mean, I've been working more, I think, than I've worked ever before in my life with documentaries and other kinds of films and programs. It's much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Much more difficult to find the time and then to concentrate in the time, and it's exhausting, mentally exhausting, actually, to get into another language at the best of time. I find Irish particularly exhausting. Even at the Gaeltacht, I find it very, very tiring. I went to bed at 10 o'clock at night in the Gaeltacht. I was knackered.
One of the funny things about this conversation is you're displaying all the characteristics of the things that I hear from my students in school when they want to put in place excuses to explain why they haven't done anything. They use evasion techniques. I'm busy, I'm the busiest person in the world. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Did you not realise how difficult this was going to be when you decided to take it on?
Well, I thought it was going to be difficult. But if I'm interviewing somebody on a radio programme, I'm not going to be saying, how's the weather? Yeah. That's no use to me at all. I mean, some of it's propositional. If I'm interviewing someone about a subject or a topic, I need to be able to say, why do you think that?
So we need to look at what you're learning and how you're learning it and make a few tweaks. The same advice I would give my kids in school: stop putting obstacles in front of them, stop finding reasons why you can't do it. Clear your diary, clear your desk, clear your mind, and focus on this for the next couple of months. And I know you can do it.
Despite Dahi's words of encouragement ringing in my ears, I'm heading into the new year with a distinct sense. I'm getting a good sense of the issues surrounding Irish and how some attitudes are changing. But discussion about the language isn't unique to Northern Ireland, as I'm about to find out in Dublin.
How does the Irish language play out here south of the border? Is it as controversial here as it is in some places? Is it tied up with religion? Is it tied up with politics? Is it tied up with people's experience in their childhood? How do people in Dublin see the Irish language?
While Irish is enshrined in the Constitution as the country's first and official language, in reality, English is by far the most common language spoken. In 2010, the Irish government launched a 20-year strategy aimed at tripling the number of people who speak Irish on a daily basis, from 83,000 to 250,000. It's led to a public discussion about the relevance of the language.
Some people resent it, some people are very uncomfortable with it, some people say it's taught very badly. But on the other hand, there's probably a growing culture that is almost second or third generation removed from Irish language altogether, and therefore has a fresh pair of eyes towards it and sees a novelty, and like my experience, is romantically drawn to it.
People pay lip service, excuse the pun, you know, couple of focal, a few words. It has a symbolic value for most people, not for everybody, but for a lot of people.
Almost like tourist Irish, isn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't go beyond that, you know. But it takes a real effort, like, to perfect your Irish.
It does,
I mean, it's very difficult.
I think people want to get back to the traditions that we have and the culture that we came up with. Yeah. But definitely when I was in school, it was more of a hindrance than anything. People weren't happy that they had to do Irish.
I mean, are we going to face the facts of life that we need to have languages that we can communicate with the rest of Europe, with the rest of the world? We need to be speaking Chinese now. We need to be speaking German. We need to be speaking Latin American, Portuguese. Communicate.
People's attitudes to the language are formed by their experiences of it. And for most people in the South, that means during school. In the education system here, Irish is a compulsory subject right through secondary school. But recently, Taoiseach Enda Kenny suggested making it optional, an attempt, he says, at changing attitudes to it. I've come to Ballymun, an area witnessing a revival of the language, to meet with someone who's devoted a lifetime to promoting Irish.
Talking to people in Dublin, especially younger people, if they had an option not to study Irish at school, many of them would take that option. And many of the teachers would take the option of not learning it to teach it as one of their additional subjects. I think it would be a nail in the coffin of the Irish language as it's used in Ireland if it ceased to be a compulsory subject.
Well, I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think we also need to look at flexible ways of dealing with a flexible school population.
And to make it a more persuasive argument for the enjoyment of Irish rather than seeing it as something like bad medicine that you have to take.
I agree with that totally, and I think a lot of that has to do. It is very difficult, I suppose, attitudes, to change attitudes. It's one of the most difficult things to do in life, is to change attitudes. And if you can change the attitude in a particular school, and that can be done, and it has been done in an awful lot of schools where Irish is only a subject, where it isn't even a medium, where the teachers of Irish in that school have offered exciting opportunities to the children to use the language that they're learning. For example, schools I know have internal radio. They involve themselves in all sorts of debates and drama, everything.
Exactly.
I mean, as somebody who has been a language teacher, I think there comes a point where there always is a point, that there is no point in learning a language if you're not using it. I do think that the Irish language community needs to do more to present itself to the public and to people, to offer opportunities to them. And it has to be done, I don't like saying this in a fun way, because not everybody wants fun. They want enjoyment, yes. Enjoyment in the sense of being fulfilled.
Yeah.
And they don't want to lose what they have. Jane Fonda, I think it was. I often use this. Well-known Gaeilge. But she did do a video for Keep Fit. And one of her mantras was, use it or lose it. And I think we need that, h-oscailte.
Clearly the debate about the language here is political, but in a very different way from the politics of Irish in Northern Ireland. But there are common themes, north and south, including addressing attitudes to Irish and the teaching of the language, which reminds me, time to get back to the books. It's now March 2013. I'm still having difficulty finding time for my one-to-one classes with Dahi, so I've signed up for a few day courses to boost my knowledge. Time for another one, here at an Irish cultural centre in Belfast.
Is that Shaw? Shaw Sugar.
I feel like I'm making progress, actually,
at an intellectual level with Irish. I'm understanding, for example, more and more of the grammar.
Fibre B, no problem, but in your intonation, if you go fibre B, is there a problem?
One of the things we did here today was started putting together a page of useful phrases, just stuff you could drop in here and there, which takes you on a little bit, you know, just being able to respond to someone who asks you how you are in a way that's more interesting than simply saying, I'm well, I'm doing all right, Tommy go my. You know, you maybe not be so well, you might be, you know, middling, you're neither here nor there, Tommy go masera, you know, which is more accurate. Or you may be having a great day into my, you know, you want to say I'm having a great time or I'm doing brilliantly well. So those little phrases, just build up your vocabulary as you go and just use them as much as you can and find ways to squeeze them into your speech.
Using the language in everyday life is key to developing my grasp of Irish. Finding those opportunities can be difficult, but sometimes the language is being used in places where you might not expect it. It's St Patrick's Day, and this is St Patrick's Church of Ireland Cathedral in Armagh. This morning is a special communion service, a Church of Ireland service, and it's in Irish. A further twist is that today's service is being led by Archdeacon Gary Hastings, a rector in Galway, who was born and raised in East Belfast.
When I went to do Irish, my granny didn't know there was an Irish language. You know, so there was no connection with anything at all. But I went to university and I met Catholics for the first time. And a lot of them were in the Irish department. And I was interested in the music because this is mid-70s we're chatting about. So the traditional music had a whole big flower in there in Ireland. So those boys playing too, and they got fascinated with that as well. So I was able to meet stuff that you weren't going to come across in East Belfast.
People tend to associate the Irish language with the people they know who speak it. But if you see a Church of Ireland minister like yourself speaking it, that's a very different image for people.
It does, but they're confused still.
Really?
Well, because we're not supposed to do that kind of thing, you know, and that was the way they thought. That all comes about the late 1800s when the Gaeilge League was founded in the GAA and all the rest, all that political nationalism that espoused the whole cultural side of stuff. And if you wanted to be a unionist, well, the nationalists were all doing all the cultural stuff, so we couldn't do that. So all we were left with in our side of the house was the Orange Order and drums and banners and stuff, but you weren't allowed to play traditional music or talk Irish, because that's what they did, so we didn't do that.
What do you enjoy most about speaking Irish?
It's good crack. I mean, it's not no highfalutin ideas about it, nationalism and all. I actually enjoy doing it. Like, I play a lot of traditional music and I get a lot out of that, personally. It's good steam and I meet people through it and it's a social thing. And the language occupies nearly the same set of brain cells in my head.
What is the most difficult part of learning Irish, do you think?
Most difficult part?
I could tell you myself what the most difficult part is.
I'm sure you know.
It's brain fried.
Yeah, because learning a second language as an adult is excruciating.
It is.
Because here you are, you're a grown man, you've an education behind you, you're literate and everything else, and suddenly you're reduced to being a sort of mentally not very sharp 3-year-old, you know.
Have you become a bit of an evangelist for the Irish language? Do you encourage people to learn it?
No, actually. Not because I don't think they should learn it, because I don't like inflicting my own interests on other people, you know. I do it, and it's what I do, and I don't even know I'm doing it anymore. And if people are interested in that, well, that's good. Mm-hmm. But I would do my faith the same way, in that if I'm doing my faith the right way, then other people would be interested and attracted to that, rather than me asking them if they are saved, friend, which is a different matter entirely, you know.
Yeah, you don't carry leaflets around with you then, no?
No.
Gary challenges so many stereotypes. A Protestant minister based in the south of Ireland, who's originally from East Belfast, who speaks fluent Irish. It's refreshing to meet a man who is so clearly at ease with his own identity. It's now April, and only a month left until the radio show.
And what's your fear? Lack of vocabulary, or just something's going to go wrong on the night, or you're not going to be able to pronounce something, or?
Yes, all of that, yeah.
Clearly this task is going to be difficult. So to give me any chance whatsoever of pulling it off, I'm going to have to concentrate on preparing to present a radio show. Over the final weeks, I'm going to learn essential words and phrases that I will need.
Tonight on Blas?
A knocked our Blas. Easy. Ca will to Ido, Coddy and Ish.
No, try that one again.
Anseo sa studio Liom.
Inta moi. Tasha Caru in ye.
Tasha Caru in ye a shocked.
You're saying Caru as if it's a Caru. 7:20.
And that's fee.
No.
Fiha.
Fiha.
No. Yeah. How many of these do we do in half an hour? I mean, we can't do it every 5 minutes. Say a little bit more about that.
Yes, yeah. I agree with you.
Keep talking.
Kegaroma dúshlán couple mbeadh Foghlaim cin William agus Mhisean hís leis an bhrú a bhí Tá mai géirí cin níos muinní fadú dó is duine ionta gairmiúil duine ionta proficient agus ní lighí sé don teanga seo agus ní lighí sé don eispre seo thuisceanach gairmiúlacht an chlár agus tá mai dúshlán an ihe nuair a raithí an solas glas go níoraithe go geal leis agus nach mé aon éifiltas fa caighdean an chlár.
Well, at least one of us is feeling confident. As I've learnt more about the language, I've clearly seen how many previous attitudes are changing. But what about the future? I've come to visit a rural community focused on the next generation. Just outside Mahara, the Carntocher Community Association has been successfully regenerating the area for the past 20 years. It now consists of a post office, schools, businesses, a library, a GAA club, and even a nature reserve. And the Irish language is the common thread linking it all. The group is in the middle of a major development project, a brand new cultural centre housing an auditorium that can seat more than 200 people.
I mean, already you've got hundreds of people involved in this community, haven't you, in this association?
Definitely, yeah, and we cater for the broader community as well. It's not just the Irish language community. We're trying to get the entire community in behind all of the activities that we're doing. We have several hundred Irish speakers within this area. They happen to be young people, nearly all young people. Most of the Irish speakers in this area are under 20 years of age.
Is that right? Yeah. Because of the schools?
Because of the schools, because of the Gaeilge.
The fact that you're doing this bilingually is important, isn't it? Because the Irish language could be seen as a badge of exclusivity for some people. I don't speak the Irish language, so I can't come to your events.
Yes, and I think that's something we really want to dispel, and we want to make sure that that doesn't become a force of any sort, or where people feel, oh, I can't go to that because I can't speak Irish. So therefore, bilingualism and doing a whole range of activities which are not in the Irish language at all. We do a whole range of lectures and things like that, which are not necessarily in the Irish language. And we also do a lot of outreach with the local wider population within the wider area to home in on things like local history, local environment, explore those areas which are of common interest across a wide range of people. And we've been doing a lot of work with other community groups. Yeah. So all of that, I think, helps dispel this myth that there's this language which is exclusive. It is part of everybody's heritage, really.
Well, how do you join the dots? How do you make the connection between Irish and community life and cultural identity here?
Well, I think we do it by weaving the Irish language in as part of the background to different things that we're doing.
It's sort of subliminal Gaeltacht.
Yeah, it's part of the phrase. It's part of what we are, and that's what it is. It's part of what it's not the whole of what we are, but it's part of what we are.
But you don't push it. You don't make it a big issue. It's just there.
It's
just normal.
That's it, exactly.
The energy of this community is evident in these regular traditional music sessions. I've been known to play the bodhrán on occasion, so I'm happy to join in.
Creativity that we see in those young people is incredible, and these facilities will give them an opportunity to develop that creativity. The name of this building is Corrinahallinja, the cauldron of the arts, and that's what it's about. It's about creating a future for the children and shaping their future and their artistic future and giving them an opportunity to develop.
The focus on the next generation brings a confidence to this rural community. What's happening here at the foot of the Sperrins is intriguing. It's almost like a social experiment, developing a bilingual community where the Irish and English languages happily coexist in everyday use. But what's even more intriguing will be how this community will look and sound in 20 years' time. But this is where the fun ends for me.
Right, William, do you do?
It's May 2013. Tonight's the night. 10 months ago, I announced that I was going to co-present the Irish language radio show Blas live. I must have been mad. It's been 10 months of ups and downs, but have I learnt enough to pull it off?
I'll be your safety net.
Well, if I look to Moya and kind of go like that, she knows. Time to jump in.
Sílim gúil sé moine sa dóis go bhfuil sé a olmhaithe agus go bhfuil ceistine planáilte aige go bhfuil riomhre scrífa aige agus bhfuil sé don túr an gomise sin go bre a ní dóilm go dtaigeann sé ná nuair tá sé sí sa stúdio calú agus a ragraíon daine a bhfuil sé gur ábalta gáil balla eile leis nó mé sé daigi sé.
I mean, my focus now is try not to be too good because, you know, they're lovely girls, don't embarrass them. You know, they do this every day. No, that's not my feeling at all. I'm stressed. I didn't sleep the other night at all thinking about this.
You've just done a great half an hour and you'll ruin it all by saying, and from me, Maya Brana.
I just don't want to kind of fall off air with embarrassment. I mean, even in that meeting in there, they said, don't worry, we've got a track of music on standby in case you collapse. Lurvastor.
Keep it stored, Lurvastor.
Lurvastor. Agus be mudge I de hudgeta gaji
lanya shot.
How much time do we have?
It'll be 7:30 by the time we've said. With gaji lanya shot. So it's very real now, doesn't it? You've got a running order.
Yeah, you got a running order, yep.
So out of 31 minutes, how many minutes are you going to talk?
Probably about 3. Aliu.
And slow down on this one.
Oran.
Intamoy.
Once you're in the studio, the focus is there. I don't want to think about what I'm feeling. I just want to do the job, focus on the job.
And are you afraid of over-preparing?
I'm not over-prepared. We're close to over-prepared.
Anyway, but just my out.
Hello, everyone. Have you met my camera crew? Aren't you? How are you? You didn't need to dress for this, really. You didn't. Benton, good to meet you. How are you? Good to meet you. Yeah. 3 minutes to go. You wondering where I was? No, I bet you were.
Right, William, here it comes. How are you feeling? Are you nervous?
I felt better. I really have. Am I nervous? Is the Pope a Catholic?
Blas. Na Maya Brana.
Sé de bhatha agus de 100 míle fáilte isteach go Blas ar BBC Radio Ulu. Is Mhisean Liam McGrahaley.
Agus is Mhisean Maya Brana, and yes, that was William Crawley you just heard. You may recall a number of months ago, William came into the studio and declared on air that he'd set himself a challenge to learn Irish and co-present Blas. Well, that night has finally arrived.
The Voice UK star Conor Rua-Scott drops into the studio to give us a taste of life, that's Blas of life, on the BBC Talent Show.
Shouldn't have had lips to
a moment. Stay tuned because you have survival tips on the way.
Mas moilia Chuaigh a Yano Leshin Clar Curia Fost Hig Blas ig BBC Stad Co Stad UK.
Oi.
No hig liat chakes her hig a hoctahain a shocty hain. Na shawl twig. Na shawl tweet hig.
Ta faiblig a listen verla.
The Hudge Turami no Cudgy Liom le ma Hudge Gaeilge Be Fulcher Road.
William Gaeilge.
Not a bad start, but tonight's first guest is certainly going to test my ability. And Shaw sa studio Lynn, leis an Coinsiasach Flay to Mhisean Oirthear. Mhisean, fáilte roit.
Well, sé de bhatha, William agus cógáirteas, táid nervhíseach ditch ach maidir le cógáil na híon carach tá sogad a Bhéal Feirste nach glóramid a gcónaí le céile nach glóramid le íon dhóthain. Deir siad in sa Gaeilge scatha céile war in na daoine. We all live in each other's shelter. Agus siadm go gaithimid tógáil sin acht. An rud a cangli and captain
ag a lechar ar bhairtíing an Jerry fa Alex Ferguson Man United na níos an dacian se Man United níos an go tímar laci se leis but dúí sé William amach as an golar.
William an diggin tú gahrid atá. Seán William níos cúine na mar a bhí sé riú beidir.
I'm too busy thinking about Alex Ferguson.
Speaking of Alex Ferguson.
You la more to
Alex Ferguson. Link in you la more, right? Okay.
Inte gasta.
Corcast Martin for Alex.
Could you do a roll?
Well, Mara Dirches, is Jerry the Ray.
Mr. Martin Appleton for the Hunter.
Thankfully, that's the first item over. Next up, I'm interviewing a guest about a new book on Irish poetry. Not an easy task, but I think I'm starting to settle into it. Or BBC Radio Ulu le Liam McGrahley, William Crawley agus Moya Branagh Fintan Fáilte go Blas. Inistú cadas a danig and Cruisac Shaw.
Well, Shaw rud atá curla chéile ag cóirla limní go dtíar ó hús agus fear ágóil James Lawler atá agurthóra.
Well, I should switch into English for a second because, and this is important, it's a controversial thing for some people that Michael Hartnett wrote both Asperla agus oscailteacht.
I suppose we know a farewell to English.
Into jazz.
Hartnett is almost people's idea of what a poet should be.
Tá sé bhgéisteach le Blas lomsa Mhisean Oirthear agus William Crawley in seo in Eichelum agus a comh-laithriú.
I was more nervous than you were.
No, you were not.
But I couldn't tell how much you understood of what was it. So the deal was I was just to continue in Irish.
Absolutely,
and soon,
yeah.
You know.
And I was picking up some wee phrases and things.
Right.
That's where I am, where I'm jigsaw puzzle.
Rhythms Magalian and William Tannock on lay him a couple of tweets in it. I'll just do a few tweets now. Yeah. Then at the end we'll do the rest of these and your one. Okay, so
10 minutes to go. You take as long as you need, Connor.
Gaeilge le William Crawley BBC Blas Tam inta impressáilte.
Wow, inta impress.
William, I'm sure you understand that. Marios fad agus da Woonshore fasta Dahimori Gira Red.
Yes, Dahimori.
Naira.
Augusta Connor and Shaw sa studio Lynn Anish. Get you more tattoo, Connor?
Go hintak. The hand.
Masera is the term that comes to mind.
Right, William, over to you. Dún and Clar.
Shinna Will from Will. Dun Iha Anocht. Wikas. Lucinda Glynn. August Trasa Vranach. August Lemo Cara Moya. A Kudji Gamor Liam Anocht. Umhain Liam McGrahley.
Agus Rumsa Mhisean Oirthear.
Slan go foil.
That's hard.
Woohoo!
Well, our fan, eat on my who. Have inta prodo.
I got an inta.
Jay has Jay. He might be doi. Could you heal too?
yeah, he may go see it.
Inta boy.
I just turned up at 6:30.
I think you found your holiday.
And you just do everything in Irish, and every so often speak to me in Irish, and I'll reply in English to a question you didn't ask. And we'll just make that our
That's what
shtick.
you do best.
Yeah, that's what I do best.
One more sleepless long night was for all teenage hopes alive.
It's the following morning, and I'm taking time out to let it all sink in. There were times when I thought I wouldn't be able to pull this off, but I did.
Of course I could have done done more. I could have dropped some things and done more. I could have woken up every morning the way some people go to the gym and go to my Irish books and just drive myself through it, and I would have made more progress, you know, but I've no regrets about it because, and I'm not haunted by I could have done more. I'm actually just amazed and relieved that because I have the best Irish tutor in the world, Dahi Murray, in 10 months I got to the point of presenting a live Irish language radio programme, which is, you know, that's an achievement. I feel really proud of that.
The past 10 months have been quite an experience. I've learnt a fair bit of Irish, but I've learnt a lot more about the language and about those who speak it.
I've discovered with the Irish language community that most of the people I meet are very open-minded. They're very open to diversity. They're very open to giving space to other people because that's what they feel they haven't received at times in their history. And that was a bit of a revelation, actually. So if there is more Irish, more interest in Irish in this society, one would hope that there will be more open space for the kind of pluralist diversity that I think defines a healthy society.
But I've one piece of advice for anyone else wanting to learn.
Whatever you do when you're learning Irish, do not do it with a television camera crew following you around for a year. I mean, it's enough pressure all by itself to learn a new language, but to be stalked by this, not the way to do it.